I write most of the songs. Jesse writes some of them. We're kind of maybe like 60-40. So like, I guess I'll just speak from my process. I typically get an idea of like what kind of vibe I want for the song, and that usually starts with like a tempo and a key, and then I'll start laying down like a basic drum beat, and then I start layering on the different parts, and then it kind of circles back around. I have to like get the drum beat more intricate to fit with it, and then I spend a lot of time doing arranging with moving different parts around. Once I get the ideas, I'm like, all right, this has like a, more of a chorusy sound, and this has more of a verse sound or whatever, and then figuring out the bridges, and then I just do a lot of editing, like so I'll start a song and I'll just put the date of it, and then I'll just do revision after revision, keep going down with the dates, and then once I'm happy with it, I got a couple people that I bounce it off of. They give me suggestions, and then when it's completely finished, I send it out to the band and see if they have any suggestions, and then we take it into the rehearsal space, and that's when we start working on it, all the parts, so everyone knows their parts at that point, and we come in, and once we hear it live, we can make the changes from there,
right,
and then debut it at the show. I feel like when I started writing music, I wanted to like prove I could do this thing. Oh, I can prove that I can modulate from this key to this key, or prove I could do a song in this meter. And I feel like the more I've written songs, the more I'm coming back to the really simple things, really simple chord changes, and then kind of having the complexity be more in the arrangement. I always say that Talking Heads was kind of our main influence, just because like the grooves that they created were kind of they just like transcended time. They weren't just like, this is a groove from the mid 70s or something. This was like an 80s sound. It was just like, you have to dance when you hear it. It's just like this thing, you could hear it go on for, minutes and minutes and minutes. You never want it to stop. I'm mainly thinking of side A off of Remaining Light, like that, the A side of that, where they just have these repetitive grooves, and there's almost this kind of like African influence, and there's like this weird electronics, and it all comes together and it just makes a perfect mesh. I think that was kind of one of the main influences for Lotus, like trying to get that groove,
okay,
and doing it in different tempos and doing it in different tonalities and keys, but always having that underlying like feel good groove. When we're cutting an album, we'll just go into the studio, just set up and play live as much as we can to get kind of that organic vibe, because we don't want it to sound, I feel like a lot of stuff today, I can really hear when it's been composed strictly on a computer and there wasn't live musicians playing, because there's not that push-pull, there's not that fluctuation in tempos and the volumes and the interactions of the instruments. And it can be cool having that closed-in environment. There's been people that have done it amazingly well, like Aphex Twin, but oftentimes it sounds boxed in and too rigid to me. So we try to just go in, learn the songs, and just go in the studio and just play them. On the latest album, there was a lot of more electronic-oriented stuff, a lot of more synth bass and electronic drums. But there were some tracks like Orchids, the last track. It's just that's all just guitars and violins, cello, drums. There might be a little bit of like some claps in there, but it's that's a totally organic thing. And when we get the songs written, we just see which ones work best together. So for this album, it was a lot more of the electronic stuff seemed to work better together, so we grouped that together for the album. Sometimes we're the only band at, like, for example, Starscape this past summer in Baltimore. It was us and Bass Nectar headlining on the main
right.
stage, and then there was 80 other DJs. There wasn't
right.
a guitar in sight.
Right.
So I guess in that sense, we are in it, and we're like one of the lone bands that
right.
gets invited to play. If someone had gone around and stolen all the MacBooks before the show, there would be a lot of dudes with silly haircuts just standing on stage, But as far as sound-wise, I think we have very little in common with the
definitely.
bro step that's happening. I mean, some of the original dubstep that was more, I guess now they're almost kind of calling it post-dubstep, which is ironic because it kind of came first with like the Burial stuff, where it was like a kind of a deeper sound and less just about crunching you in the face with as much bass as you can. It was more of like a spiritual thing. I think we have more in common with that, I think, than this latest brand of dubstep, which seems to be taking over the middle schools.
Right.
Sounds that are impossible to create live, like on a guitar or on a drums, where we want to change textures. We've got the capability, you know, we got the synthesizers, we've got the electronic drums to mix in, we've got the sampler, so we can bring those elements. And sometimes that it brings an organic sound. Like we recorded a lot of string parts for our latest album, and to play those songs live, you know, we can't afford to bring a quartet of string players around to the show as we go broke, but we can sample them and then like play it back with, you know, the technology, so we can have that organic element that we're just not able to play live.
Gotcha.
We still improvise a lot, and that's a lot of fun. I think that's one of the main aspects of Lotus is the improvisation. But I feel as I've gotten stronger as a songwriter, I've been able to create pieces that are totally composed, 7-8 minutes long, that don't have any improv. And so maybe those songs, there's not a place in those to just shove improv because we should. So we don't. We'll put in improv where we think it's necessary. I think one thing that Lotus strives to do is kind of be undefinable, be our own thing, be something new, not be retreading old ground.